Okay, then welcome back to our third part of today. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to give you these. There. Oh, right, you got, yeah. There should be 3 there in each.
Should be Shadow Persona Waking Up in Michael Murray. Got it.
Okay, right. Okay, folks, welcome back, and we're going to continue now. What we were doing is we have the separated self, we have the shadow and the persona at the center of the separated self, and these all exist within the ego thought system. Okay? So, is there any questions before we move to the next phase? Everybody happy? Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the 3 layers around the separated self. That's one layer. Two layers. And this is the 3rd layer. Okay? Now, our biggest task here, right, is the first phase of your work, or anybody's work that starts doing A Course in Miracles, is to get to this point. This is where the work basically begins. And what's happening here is the separated self at the core of the ego thought system must now disengage from the ego thought system. That is what has to take place in the transformation in your transcendence. You cannot transcend when these 3 layers around you basically are keeping you attached to the ego. Think about it. If you're attached to something, that means you're connected to it. And if you're connected to an immovable object, you ain't going anywhere. And the ego is an immovable object. Why? We have created it that way as an illusion in our mind. The ego thought system cannot go anywhere. And you're inside it. So if you're trying to transcend, if you're trying to meet with God, if you're trying to make a connection with the Holy Spirit, with Jesus, with anything above that line that we discussed this morning, then you ain't going to do it. All your work is going to be fruitless. Because you're trying to take the whole ego thought system with you. It can't be done. So what we have to do is we're going to look at first the 3 layers around this and basically become aware of what they are. So the first layer is our attachment. And attachments, by its very definition, like we just discussed, really means you're connected to something. Okay? So let's look at it this way just for a second, right? Okay? Here is where you're trying to get. Okay? And here is where you are. Okay? And here, around this, is all of these attachments. So this self is trying to get into the center, which I call my center. Alright? And this is what people do. Let's say if you're sitting down to do meditation, okay, and you're trying to get into the space where the bliss is, that everybody's trying to do. Okay, what's stopping you from getting in there is all of these attachments. Yeah? So, the only way that you can move in here freely, you don't have to, there's no effort required for this, is to sever the connect attachments. And then what happens, this self, separated self, just merges straight in here to the higher self, and the separated self dissolves. So that's what attachments do, to keep you basically attached to the ego thought system, which means that the ego thought system is a thought system of sin, guilt, fear, pain, depression, anxiety, irritation, annoyance, sickness, and death. So the longer that you remain attached to the ego thought system, that's the process and evolution of your life here on earth. So it's like you're on the clock. Alright? And the longer that you stay attached to the system, the more damage that it's doing to you. Now, Jesus says in the Course, illness is a form of external searching. So illness is the result of our search outside of ourselves. Or to put it another way, illness is the result of us seeking for things from the ego. So why do we get sick? Because the moment we seek for anything, we activate the separation. You're on the clock, and the longer you spend in the ego thought system, the more sick you're going to become. Because it's a thought system, no matter how healthy the body is, it's a thought system that ends in death. So people talk about, they might be doing the course, I don't want to come back here. Alright? So what brings them back here? Things you're connected to. And we're connected to a lot of things. So what I'd like to do now is attachments. We'll do them on these 3 levels here. Give me an attachment.
Special love.
So, who's our special loves?
Our body, our family,
Friends.
material things.
Is there anybody that you couldn't walk away from within 7 seconds and not give a second thought? When Jesus said to, when in the old, I was reading it, when God said to Abraham to sacrifice his only son, okay? Abraham put his son up on the table and was about to sacrifice him, and the story goes that God intervened. What is that a metaphor for?
Thank you. I have, because I grew up Christian, I could never understand that. You know, it didn't, the translations that you heard in church, whatever, it's like, what? No, this does not make sense. There has to be another, but I couldn't, you know, I didn't have the smarts or whatever to figure it out, yeah.
It never really happened like that.
Right,
But that's
right.
not, it's a metaphor for our special loves. Are we willing? No. are we willing to let them go? But in that metaphor, God asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son. And he did. He was willing. That's all that God asked for. And that's all we're asked for in A Course in Miracles with forgiveness. We're only asking at the beginning of this is the willingness. Are you willing to do this? So at the beginning of the Course, Jesus talks about a little willingness. But at the end of the Course, he says great willingness. He doesn't say that at the beginning to scare us off. So it kind of leads us up the garden path. At the beginning of the Course, he says about God has many sons, because we believe we're all separate. But at the end of the Course, he says God has only one son. So he's bringing us to the truth of this. So great willingness is about great effort. And the Course requires great effort to do this. If my philosophy on this is if you're going to do this, do it as quickly as possible. Because delaying this and drawing this out is only drawing out the agony. Because if you're not experiencing bliss every day, then you're in agony. It doesn't matter how happy you are, how peaceful you are. Anything less than that is not acceptable if you're doing A Course in Miracles, in my opinion. Okay? So the special love, does that help you in any way understand that now, that it's only the willingness? And it's not about giving up or walking away from anybody. It's only about learning to see them differently. So let's look at this, put this into perspective, right? We have the special love. Is an attachment. Okay? So why do we have special loves? Where are the special loves? What is the cause of our special loves?
Seeking for love outside ourselves.
Who?
The ego, right?
The separated self.
Persona. Oh, well, no.
The persona has the special loves.
Right, okay.
The special loves are in the good room.
Yeah.
And the persona is the good room. So we have all the people that we like and love in that room. And that's coming from our persona. Okay? So why does the persona need all these people that it loves and likes?
Just to strengthen it, to show that it's real, that...
Yeah, you could say all of it, yeah. But ultimately the persona is nothing without them.
Right.
Well, that's how you feel good about yourself, or you feel special.
Yeah.
The more special that you make other people, you align yourself with that specialness, you're making yourself special. So, we all feel terrible. Being in this thought system, being in the personality, in the persona, with the shadow, inside all of these layers, inside the ego thought system, is a pretty horrible place to find yourself. Okay? Because it's nothing. Close your eyes. See the darkness. That's what we all are without our attachments. Our attachments make this life bearable. But bearable for who? Self.
Yeah.
Separate self. Just think about it, you know. Look at a black wall. And imagine you had to look at that wall now for the next 100 years. No signs, no tastes, nothing, just a black wall. What would happen to you after a little while?
You go crazy?
Completely. Completely. And that's the way we all come into the world.
Crazy.
Crazy. But also with nothing. So the minute we're born, We have needs straight away. We need to be fed, we need to be loved, we need to be liked. And we quickly learn, that if we get these needs fulfilled, the best way to get these needs fulfilled is basically to have special people around us that's going to fulfill these needs. These are our attachments. And we're going to love these people provided that they keep meeting our needs. And when they don't meet our needs, they're still going to be very useful because now we're going to put them into the shadow. But we think we're getting rid of them. And Jesus says in the Course that the misperception of judgment means that every time that you judge against something, you think it doesn't matter. You think you're rejecting that it's not a part of you. Everything you judge here is a part of you. So you're judging it for you or against you. And this is why the ego cannot survive without judgment.
I have a question. Is it true that when a baby comes into the, is born, that it has a consciousness like the Holy Spirit, and no matter what is done to it, no matter how much it is abused or hurt, it has the ability to choose how to respond to it?
Yes. The little spark, which you're talking about here, Jesus talks about it in the Course. The little spark, everybody has the little spark within them. There's nobody in this world, and there's nothing in this world that doesn't have that little spark, which is basically the Holy Spirit. It's our true self. It's light. It's love. It's Jesus. Put whatever name you want to put it on. We all carry it here. And that spark is basically something that's growing within a lot of people, but there's an awful lot of people trying to cover it up in the world. So all the people who would be using the ego's tools, all the people who would be using forgiveness to destroy, all the people who would be seeking outside themselves would be covering up that little spark, that light. But the people now who are learning the truth, people who are becoming one with everybody, no matter what they are or who they are, that the spark is turning into a light, a big, big light inside everybody.
But how could a little tiny baby who's abused, let's say, slapped around, hurt, physically abused, maybe deprived of food, how could it not react?
But you see, the ultimate, what you're doing here, right, and Jesus says in the Course that you're free to do this, but you have to look at the enormity of what you're thinking or trying to do. You're judging one little part. And for you to judge that part, you would need to know every previous lifetime, every lifetime after that child is going to have. Not only that child, but everybody that has ever lived. You would need to know every lifetime to properly judge any part.
So it is possible.
Yeah, but this is my point. Now there could be a number of reasons why that child would be doing that. But there are two things that's very clear. That would only be happening because the child has chosen that as an experience. So why would the child choose that in experience? Maybe it's because the lifetime before that child was an abuser. Maybe that child basically hurt other people, went back, seen the life of it, and said, right, I want to come back here and do this.
I get that.
And this is the way that I can undo all of that guilt I'm going to carry. People call this karma, and so on. It really doesn't matter. That child could come back here and use true forgiveness and not have to put themselves into that position once again. But you see, what's very clear here is this. In the first experience where maybe that child was the abuser, and the second where that child was abused, both cases are here in these two places. Because the victim is always in the good room. Why?
It's getting sympathy.
Because the victimizer is in the bedroom. Yeah? So,
I thought you meant why would it choose to be in the good
no, but why would it be in the good room?
Yeah.
Because in the good room, like Gloria just says, it gets sympathy. It's perceived innocent. You know, you're forgetting, you know, in your story, don't come from the premise that the child is born innocent. Either we're all born innocent or we're all born guilty.
But as a baby, babies don't think, right?
Right.
As you get older, yeah, I mean, then you have, and your brain, your thinking mind develops. Then at that point, you can choose. But a baby, how does it choose when it's just all feelings?
You see, for
How can a baby choose? I think
You
that's
see,
what you're
in
asking, right?
Yeah, but in every lifetime, you see, the babies, we're going to cover it later on when we do the script, but the baby will choose its life in the script. Or it will choose all its lessons in the script.
Right.
But it's coming from a place of knowing how many past lives it had. It's coming from a place of all of that knowledge already is within it. Okay, so it's not really coming in as a blank, empty screen as such. So in every lifetime, we acquire more and more knowledge. So maybe in this lifetime, you could say, oh, that's familiar, or I can relate to that, or that resonates with me. All that's saying to you is, you already know this, but you just can't remember where. And that's understandable.
Okay, let me ask it one more way. A 1-week-old baby is horribly beaten, maybe burned. So you're saying it's possible for that baby not to feel any pain at all and not to react at all?
Yeah, well, you see, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to this is, it's not just the babies in that experience. Say the parent was responsible for this, and the parent wanted to have that experience. So therefore somebody in the soul group as a baby would say, I will volunteer to play that role, I'll play the baby. So it's got nothing to do with the baby. And it was all got to do with the parent, because maybe this is what the parent needed to basically make that switch. I need something drastic to happen in my life. I need to, and you know yourself, people, you know, you see stories of it all around the world where people, something drastic happened, and all of a sudden it was that switch, something clicked within them that just totally transformed them in that moment.
I understand all that.
So what I know what you're asking here is, how can the baby choose, or what does the baby choose? The choice has already been made.
I understand that. What I don't understand is we were told the other night that it's possible for a baby to come in, to be a day old, a week old, and to be horribly abused, but yet not to feel any pain.
Who told you that? Right, let me tell you this. Remember the story I said at our last workshop about the 2 rooms? And this will give you an indication the second we're born. These 2 rooms emerge in the baby's awareness. Now, the baby's not aware of this. None of us aware of this. There are people sitting in this room and adults not aware of this. So, you know, don't knock the baby for not being aware of this. But what happens is this. That baby is coming from a place of no contrast into a place of contrast. So the first thing it basically does not like is the light. So automatically it reacts to the light and puts it into the bad room. Doesn't know what it's doing. This is all unconscious. Just the way the mind structure is made up. The baby's choosing. It's unconscious.
Right.
We're all unconscious, so we're all unconsciously choosing. But the baby that comes in and maybe then is burned and hurt in a bad experience, it doesn't understand the experience, but it does remember the pain, and it puts it in a specific place. Now, later on throughout that whole life, that baby is still attached to the pain. it's still attached to that experience. And it might not know where that come from because its mind hadn't developed at that time, but that experience will be projected out into form of maybe that child turns into an arsonist.
Right. Exactly. But we were told that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, I might be getting it wrong. We were told that when the baby is born, it has a choice not to react to the light.
No, that's what how I understood the
Ultimately, technically, that's correct. But, okay, you take the most educated person, sophisticated person in this world, intellectual person in this world, and you tell that person, right, anything you react to now, right, is the ego. And then you get someone else to come in and insult that person. That person will react just like that. So, you have very mature adult people in this world. No, you know, I'm not allowed to react here, but they still react. And that person is projecting that onto a baby in the same awareness, all right, who hasn't been educated in any tools or life experiences or anything else. And they're saying, well, the baby doesn't do it. So we need to look at this within. Whoever has said that to you, are you doing it? The potential is there, yes, for a baby for that. But that baby would have to be born not in a personality, but in its own personality. And that's the way we're going to be born in the future.
I was going to say, yeah, that would be like the ultimate
Yes,
goal.
that
But
is, yeah.
but I doubt
But
that.
up until
yeah.
the time of an awakening, you're still going to be choosing personalities to experience this world for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, until the day that a child is born in their own nature and they know who they are, that child won't even need to be educated in any formal educations of this world.
Like us, the higher self.
Of course.
So they're will be born completely aware. Like there are some,
Completely
I think
awake,
some
completely
avatars or
awake,
gurus
completely awake.
that are, but it's very small.
At this moment
Well,
in
at this
time.
point, yeah.
And the reason for that is because the limited number of people who have decided to come back after waking up. So, you know, put yourself into that category.
Yeah, really.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah,
Like,
so
when
you
you
want to
wake
come back
up.
to this hellhole, or
So, you know, again, be skeptical of what people say to you, unless they have experienced it themselves. Simple as that. The reason why I teach the way I teach is 99% of the time I'm coming from an experience. I know what I'm talking about because I've fucking gone through that. You know? So that's what I would say. So, what we're doing here, the persona is the cause of the special love. Which means that as long as we have a special love, we're going to have that.
special hate.
You waited to the last minute till I actually started the hitch. Hit. Hit with a hitch. Alright. Now, the reason why we can't have one without the other is here. Right? You're in the ego thought system, you ain't going nowhere. You're in the separated self, you ain't going nowhere. Because the persona is inside the separated self. It splits off inside. So no matter how hard the persona tries to get away from the shadow, from the hate, you can't. And you can't have a special love without a special hate.
We're in duality.
And duality. You can't have one without the other. So as long as you have special people in your life that you like and love, you're always going to have that people that you hate. So who's the person that you're going to hate?
I think for a lot of people it's their self.
Yes. Everybody is their self. You can't hate somebody else without hating yourself first.
Yeah.
And if you hate yourself, then you are going to hate other people, because that's what you are, that's what you project. And we cover this up with specialness, with the special love. So that allows us to hit. Because it gives us this, I'm a good person. Sure, look, I like this person and I love this person. I'm a good person. You know? So that gives us permission then to hit people. It's because we have people that we love. It gives us this illusion that we're coming from love. But even the love that we give to them doesn't exist. Because the love that we give to the people that we think we love is all conditional. So you can see how the whole thing is completely made up in our minds. We think we have these people loved, and then we think that we do things for these people that we love, and then we think that these people don't do things back for us that we did for them. This is the truth that I'm talking about. You know, the truth will set you free. And it means this. If you look honestly at all the grievances that you would hold against what people didn't do for you, and look at that honestly, what you have done for them, you'll see that it is exactly square. Exactly. If you're at a place in your life that you have absolutely nothing, then you can be absolutely sure what you have given is absolutely nothing. Anybody like to disagree with that? Why? Because duality cannot lie. Cause and effect are not separate from each other. It's the biggest trap that most people fall into in the Course, to think that cause and effect are not related. Which means, in a practical sense, is I can think whatever the hell I want about you, and it has no effect on me. That is the cause of more pain and more suffering in this world than anything else. Okay? So that's the special love and the special hate. And they'll always be side by side. So, what else are attachments? The body.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The body is probably one of our biggest attachments of all. And if you want to see how you're attached to your body, just look at your body and observe yourself looking at your body and how you see your body every day. Okay? Because how you see other bodies is how you see your own body. Alright? Very important. The one thing that will keep bringing you back here time and time again is your attachment to your body.
You think more so than anything else?
Well,
Or
in attachments, yeah.
in attachment? I mean,
Yeah, in attachments, because ultimately in this,
but you lose your body. Why would you? It doesn't quite compute with my brain right now. Why would you? Because you lose your body when you die. I mean, it goes
Yeah,
into
yeah.
ashes. So, how? You know, I don't.
you're on the right track, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, how? Why would you come back to something that you've lost and has gone to ashes and dust and or
What about the attachments?
to the body? You think they're still there then, huh? People still.
You see, even
Well-
though your body's not there,
Yeah.
your attachments to your body are all there. Your special loves, your special hates. You see, because ultimately what I'm talking about here, right, is the persona.
Hmm.
I'm not actually talking about a physical body. Your reputation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you know
okay.
what I mean? Like the
yeah,
image that you have of yourself.
Yeah.
All right. of course it takes place in a body.
Alright.
But what I'm really talking about is the image that you're putting out there, how you want to be perceived.
Right.
So it's like this. The body's the biggest attachment because all other attachments stream from the body. All attachments stream from the persona. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there's no persona, there'd be no attachments.
Yeah. Right.
Because the persona is the good room,
Right.
and then we like to put things into the good room. These are all our attachments. We like to put people into the good room. We like to put things into the good room. We like to put ideas into the good room. We have a reputation in the good room. We have our self-image in the good room. We have all our dreams and our desires, our needs are all in the good room. This is the body, the attachment that I'm talking. And that's, the good room is all centered in the body. So this is why people want to have a really good looking body. Because it's very valuable to them that their room looks nice, because they want to attract people into their room. They want to attract nice people. So they want to be educated. So I want to attract educated, nice people. So everything you do in life, there's always a motive behind it, because it's kind of like you're attracting all the time. Like flowers will attract trees and birds. And that's what we're doing. Our flower is in the good room, which is our reputation, our self-image, and we're making it as pretty as possible, as we can, to attract as many birds and bees into it as possible. Why? Because the more birds and bees, the more distractions in there, the happier I'll be. Remember what we said? If there's only a black wall sitting there, you're going to be in hell very quickly. So we realize that the more nice things, nice people that we put in to the good room, then the happier we're going to be. And if anybody fucks up, we don't have fire to throw them into the bed. Okay? But everything streams, begins in the separation with the body. So if you can undo the attachment to your reputation, to your self-image, to how you want to be perceived, all of these things, then the rest will all fall away. Okay, it's like this diagram that I did here. Alright? Here, right, you have the separated self, the persona, okay? And here's all the attachments around it. Okay? So let's say, cut all the attachments, take the separated self out of there, what happens to the attachments? Nothing. So, the trick here is, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, let's say you have 6 attachments. Alright? As long as you have, let's put 10 in there, right? Say there's 10. Let's say you have 10 attachments there. As long as you have 10 attachments around you here, it's very hard to let the separated self go. Yeah? So what do?
You let go of the attachments.
You weaken the structure. So you start letting go of the attachments. Maybe you let go 2, 3, 4, 5. But maybe when you let go of the 6th one, now that was the one where everything collapsed. You see what I'm saying here? Okay? The more that we take down this structure around the separated self, the easier it's going to be to let the separated self go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're really doing is here, like people who are going into demolition,
Mm-hmm.
they'll go in and they'll take down maybe certain walls,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll pinpoint key other parts of it, so when they do blow it, the whole thing goes. So a lot of work done in preparation. So that's what's happening here. Okay? You're preparing now to demolish yourself.
Kali. That's right, Diane. The Hindu god. She's the
Destroyer.
Yeah.
destroyer. Yeah. Okay.
So that moved us on then to our other attachments, and we're heavily attached to the body. We're attached to the persona. We're attached to the shadow. Okay? And then we have the reputation.
Wouldn't the reputation be part of the persona?
Yeah. But I wanted to bring it out and highlight it. Okay? Because it's what the persona is building for itself all the time. The self-image. Alright? And that's what people pleasing would be a lot about that. Because I want to be liked. So I'm going to basically make people feel good so I can get something off them. Everybody does it.
You put person, you don't want to put persona.
Huh?
Yeah, person.
Right, then we have our material attachments, we have our emotional attachments, and we have our psychological attachments. And one of our other attachments that we all have, and we all play, is victim. Okay? So how do you spot an attachment?
By our reaction.
Anything that pisses you off?
Well, how about anything that makes you sad?
Anything.
Any emotion.
Any emotion at all.
Even happiness, joy.
Of course. Yeah, but you have to look at it now. Why am I happy? If it's something external, then they...
Well, I was gonna say,
Just happy and
yeah, if
there's
you're
nothing out here.
if you're happy and there's nothing out here that's externally making you happy, then that's the bliss. Then you're into the bliss, right?
Yeah, but we have to, what we have to do is we have to correct happiness. All right, let's say that I'm out with you now for the day, Sandy, and have a really good day, and I come back and go, says, "Well, we played out with a massive day, a mighty fun and everything, right?" Was I happy?
Say that again. Say that. Sorry.
I'm out with you for the day.
Yeah.
And we have really great fun together, we laugh a lot, and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And I come back, and Gloria says to me, "What did you do today?" And I said, "Oh, I was out and had great fun with Sandy."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Gloria turns around and says, "Were you not happy?"
Or you.
Well, you're not happy.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not. Getting it.
You're not good.
Having
Are you
fun
gonna,
doesn't mean you're happy.
you see, if
Well,
you're,
I'm saying that
if you're,
if Sandy made you happy, then weren't you already happy?
if your happiness
Oh.
comes from anybody or anything
Right.
external.
Right.
No. But I'm talking about the bliss, like.
Yeah,
if-
no, I know that. I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah.
if. Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
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 I get what you're saying.
So happiness has to be corrected.
Yeah.
So if I'm not going to get the bliss. If I keep attached
Right.
and think that things external to me are fulfilling my needs, i.e. making me happy.
Yeah. Right.
Because I can't have a bit here and a bit here.
Right.
So whatever I'm getting here has to be corrected first. And that means if I'm getting happy here, so what I would come back then to Gloria was, but I would say, no, I says, Sandy only showed me the happiness that's inside me.
Right.
That's the correction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a question.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting outside and you're one with nature, one with the squirrels, one with the birds, one with the trees, that is just a projection of your happiness
It's only an outward picture of an inward condition.
condition.
And the happiness or the peace that I'm experiencing sitting out there, I bring it back. That's who I am. This is who. This
So
is.
it's not the trees or the squirrels or the birds.
They're only showing me again the
Right.
mirror reflecting back to me
Right.
the part of me. Now I have the choice. I can keep rationalizing it and saying I love sitting out there because the peace out there you get and all that. No, when I'm out there, it shows me what's inside. So it's the same that if I sit out there and I see something horrible and I react to it, it's only showing me what's inside. You know, so everything external is an outward picture of an inward condition, as the great Ken Wapnick always said.
Oh yeah, no wonder it sounded familiar.
Yeah.
But how do you get to a point where you don't need, I get that if you're experiencing really any emotion, negative and positive, it's something that's already within you, right? So if you're having a happy, if you're experiencing happiness and you're in a certain surrounding or with certain people, whatever, you make the correction, you say, okay, this happiness was always within me. How do you get to the point where you could be staring at a wall and without having to think about it, you just in bliss?
Yeah, you just got nothing to do with the wall.
Right. So, but a lot
I
of
mean,
times,
you're in bliss and you just happen to be staring at a wall, rather than I would say you're staring at a wall and then you go into bliss.
yeah, but a lot of times you'll say when I'm sitting out there, you know, and I know that you know to make the correction to understand that happiness that you feel when you're in nature, for example, it's already in you, but how do you go from having to put yourself in certain scenarios to be reminded that you have this bliss within you?
I don't have to put myself, because I'm living in awareness. You know, what they're saying is, you know, if I was, say, going from level 1 to level 3, but when you're in level 3, it's about staying on level 3. When you're in level 2, you'll go up and down from level 1, level 2, level 1, level 2, level 1. But when you're in level 3, you'll go from level 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So you're out of 1. You're out of hell. So you don't have to remind yourself of anything. You still have lessons, but now the lessons, you're awake enough to see the lessons and take action on the lessons straight away. So it's kind of like miracles become natural. So your higher self is everything that Jesus was, naturally. You don't have to try to be like him, or try to be good, or try to be holy, or try to be anything. You just are. So it's only the separated self that will be in consciousness and out of consciousness. It'll have to be corrected, uncorrected, until the point comes where the separated self dissolves completely. And it'll be there as a reminder, but it'll have no power over you whatsoever. Your allegiance now will be with God and your higher self. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but I understood that. I don't live it. I intellectually think that I understand that, but I guess I'm saying, because sometimes from hearing you, you'll make distinctions like, oh, I was here and it's so great. But then it sounds like it's always so great, even if you're...
Yeah, I mean, it's like Sandy was saying there, you know, we could be happy, and we'll have to correct it, and we'll correct it, and we'll happy, and we'll be sad, we correct it, we'll be angry, we'll correct it. So we go down to this process now. We move from this process of not correcting anything because we didn't know, and we're moving into this process now of knowing and correcting. Okay? Well, everything that you correct, you only have to correct it perfect once, and that's it. You don't have to go back correcting that same thing over and over again. So what this means is whatever lesson you learn, it doesn't come back. It's like Jesus says in the Course about the defenses of the ego. When you become aware of a defense that you're using, okay, the power of that defense dissolves the moment that you become aware that you're doing this. So that means that your awareness of what we're doing here is paramount to this. Because that's where the correction is in all of this. You can't correct anything unless you're aware of it. So you have awareness and you have correction. And that will be a process That's kind of the lifeblood for any student of A Course in Miracles. Okay? Is recognize, correct, and handle. Or let go. Which is forgiveness at the end of the day. So you do this with many, many things. And there will come a time then, and everything's natural. You don't have to remind yourself of anything. You're just being. And that's our natural state, is to be in that state of being. So you're not doing anything now, you're just being. So when I sit right there, I just be. You know, I'm not sitting out there to do anything or to get to anything or whatever. I just basically, well, apart from the suntan. You know? But apart from that, I just go out there to be. And then, when I'm in that moment of being, you know, new insights, new revelations, new knowledge comes to you. But I'm not asking for it, I'm not seeking for it. You know? So, that's our attachments. Okay? That's the outer layer of the ego thought system. Okay? So, we move now to the next layer. And the next layer is coping mechanisms. Now, the thing about coping mechanisms that you have to understand is this, and we talked about this already, is that being separate is a very stressful job. The moment we activate the separation and are outside of ourselves, alright, it's kind of like you're in hell because there's only two emotions. What's the two emotions?
Love and fear.
Fear. And the moment we disengage from love, we go into fear.
Yeah.
So every time that you activate the separation, every time you seek for something outside yourself, you activate the separation, you cannot but experience fear. Because you have sought outside yourself sin, which is separation. Now, it's not a sin to seek outside yourself. Alright? But that's what sin is in the Course. It's a synonym for separation. So every time that you activate that separation, the effect of that is guilt and fear. Can't avoid it. So that means we carry an awful lot of stress inside ourselves. Coping mechanisms. So, what's a coping mechanism? What's the...
Drinking.
It is, in form. That's form.
You're right.
I'm not,
Not
you know, we're not worried about form.
Oh, okay.
We're into the content.
Intellectualization.
Right. We'll start with the biggest one of all, and it's not in this list.
Denial.
And the biggest coping mechanism of all, especially with people who start doing A Course in Miracles, is
Passive aggressive.
passive aggressive. And if you look at the Song of Prayer in Forgiveness to Destroy, okay, this is where you play the martyr. Where you, inside you're fuming, you could literally kill the person, but you're putting on this calm exterior. Okay? You're pretending to be good, you're pretending to be godly, you're pretending to be nice. This is what I was saying earlier on about our thinking, our thoughts about other people are very damaging to us. So we're sitting there and we're totally at war with ourselves because there's a part of us that would love to kill the person or tell them to fuck off. And there's the part of us that says, no, you're not allowed to do that. You have to sit here and suffer because that's God's will. That's the passive aggressive. The passive aggressive nature and personality is responsible for most cancers in this world because you're holding that energy inside. You're not projecting it out in form, you're holding it here. And that's like a dark poison that you're holding all around your organs here everywhere. Everybody's doing this. And when you put poison or you put your organs into poison, what's going to happen? You're going to get sick. So this is why no one has got the cause for cancer. And I'm not talking about all cancers. Of course there's cancers here in this world that the body is smoking, a percentage of cancer, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately in this, cancer, they haven't found the cure for it because they're not looking from the right place. Cancer comes from the mind. Guilt is cancer. Anger is cancer. All of those are used by the passive aggressive to control being separate. So you could say that all hell is inside us and it's ready to break loose at any time. So this is tools that the ego has provided us so that we can stay separate and make this, make it possible for us to operate in the world. So the passive aggressive is one. Okay? The next one is displacement. Anybody tell me what displacement is?
Projecting your whatever onto somebody else. Happiness, anger.
But that's what projection is. What's displacement?
Oh. Don't know.
Diane? You'll have read this in the course many times.
I think it's similar to projection, but a little bit different.
Okay. that's a real Irish answer there, like, Yeah. Gloria?
Displacement is when you take out your anger and you place it on, like you're mad about something and then you find somebody else to take it out on. Like the example you've given is like when you kick the dog.
Okay.
So you displace your anger onto.
Yeah. So what displacement is this. Displacement is where you take your anger or hatred and you displace it onto a less threatening person or object.
Yeah.
So someone who basically gets a rollicking from their boss will passive aggressive in that moment. They'll hold it inside. And what they do then, they go home and maybe the wife, and they'll eat the head of the wife because the dinner might be cold. Nothing wrong with the dinner. But what they're doing is they're taking this pent up anger and irritation and annoyance inside and they're now displacing it onto someone less threatening. And this is what we do to our closest family and friends. Okay? We'll take our problems and we'll displace them onto people that we know. We'll take our anger and our hatred and we'll displace it onto all the people we don't like. We'll take our specialness and we'll displace it onto all the people we do like. Okay? So, where do you use this? At our next class, I'm going to do a little recap on this. And I want you to find where you're using this. Because all of these, you must make yourself aware. You must become, these are all unconscious. And as Carl Jung says, we have to make the unconscious conscious. So everybody's got all of these. But where are they in your life? Do you know who they are? Do you know what they are? Do you know when you're displacing? Do you know when you're using passive aggressive? Do you know when you're basically people pleasing? Do you know when you're trying to enhance your persona and your reputation? You know, all of these things is happening in every second of every minute of every hour in your mind. They're not just happening at work. They're not just happening when you're not at work. You know, they're happening in every second of every minute of your life from the minute you're here to you're not. Okay, and your task is, and this is the real work of A Course in Miracles, is to find these places. What am I doing it? Because as long as you keep displacing, as long as you keep using that tool displacement, okay, then you're going to find people to displace onto. It's as simple as that. And the one thing that's going to help you to undo it is basically become aware of it first, and then you're going to have new tools, and you're saying, right, I can do this instead. So you can't do this instead unless you become aware that I'm doing this. Okay, so again, there's a lot of processes involved. Where am I displacing? Do I want to correct it? And then correct it. Simple as that. And awareness, most of the time, is the greatest correction of all. Because now you're aware, wow, this is hurting me. I keep doing this. So another coping mechanism is sublimation. Diane, what's sublimation?
Repression.
No. Sandy? So this really is unconscious for you.
I would have said repressing or pushing it aside or making something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about making another person or making something.
Did you see these in the course?
Yeah.
Sublimation is where you take the same anger and pent up frustration, now you turn it into a more acceptable form. For example, and this is the example that I used, Mike Tyson. His manager seen that he was a very, very angry and very ferocious teenager. And he knew that if he could get that channeled into a boxing ring, he could make this guy world champion. So he took all that anger and frustration and hatred of Tyson, put it into a boxing ring and made him world champion.
Yeah, actually, we just saw an excellent, same thing. This woman who does the martial arts, who's like, she won some kind of fight. No. I mean, she's been boxing or something like that. She's won fight after fight. Like we saw her on TV last night. She's like, I don't know what she said, but it was like it was so obvious. It's just all her anger being channeled into. So I was like, oh God, she must have had a horrible childhood.
Yeah.
To be into, and so that's why she wins, because she's just this ferocious, angry lady.
Yeah. Musicians do this also with their music.
Right.
You know, they'll take their darkness, their depression, or whatever.
Van Gogh cut off their ears.
And artists do it. Everybody does this, like, you know, sublimating. So we're always sublimating.
Right.
So where are you sublimating? You know, just, this is, you know, what I want you to do here, right, if you're really serious about doing this, then get a ledger or some kind of a folder or whatever, right, and do up a whole profile on yourself. And what I mean by that, your persona, your shadow, your attachments, your coping mechanisms, your defenses, basically, now become conscious of how you live, because you're using every single thing here. You know, and that's making the unconscious conscious. That's making the known. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's on about the unknown, about outer space and all of this, but no one knows any of this stuff. And this is all around us. So we have to make this known. Okay? So that's what Krishnamurti was on about. The known to the unknown. And Carl Jung said the same thing, but use consciousness and unconsciousness. So sublimation basically is, again, an ego tool that keeps us in pain and suffering. It regurgitates the same anger and hatred inside us over and over again. So altruism is the next one. Altruism, okay, Mother Teresa would have been probably one of the world's greatest altruism, because it really is, what she showed was she did a lot for the poor. Okay, it's pretty horrible, and we feel bad enough about living in this body and this separated self. So what we do is we set out to do things to make ourselves feel better. And helping the sick and basically doing things for other people is one of the ways we achieve this. Now, I'm not saying not to help the old and do things for people. I'm saying do that. But be honest about it. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to make myself feel better? Or am I doing this unconditionally?
So what do you think, to use an example of her, do you think she was doing it unconditionally?
It doesn't matter
Hmm.
at the end of the day, because ultimately, you know, the reason why I use her is basically because she did a lot for the poor and the needy and the helpful, like. So I just use her that way. But I'm not saying that she was doing it to enhance her ego, or I'm not saying that she was doing it basically unconditionally or conditionally. It doesn't matter, like.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's always about what you think about yourself, not what you think about other people. You know, so if you know that you're doing something genuinely to help people, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. Other people will help to reinforce that within yourself. So someone might accuse you of not helping other people. Why? Because you might doubt yourself now. You know, the ego will always, you know, see if you're doing something genuine. All right? The ego's going to try to get you to stop it. Because the ego is everything that's ungenuine. So the ego, this is why we all doubt ourselves at times. Because you attempt to do anything, the ego will come in with doubts. This is not the right thing. Same with forgiveness too, people. No, that's not forgiveness. This is forgiveness.
I think it's very difficult to do anything altruistically, because even if you're doing something to help other people, and you're still doing it because of the feeling it gives you. It feels good.
Yeah.
Well, that's not altruistic.
Yeah, but you see, ultimately in this, that you're doing this conditionally. You're doing this to get
You're doing it to get a good feeling.
feeling, to feel good about yourself.
Right.
Okay, what Jesus is saying, of course, you don't need to do that to feel good about yourself. Because you're still, you see, you're seeking outside yourself, you're activating the separation,
Right.
and you're going to need to feel good about yourself. See what I mean? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Whereas, you know, you could do it without the need to feel good about it.
If you're feeling good about yourself,
Yeah.
then you do it as an extension.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the point here. Because now you're not seeking outside yourself.
Right.
Now you're extending outside yourself.
Right.
If I don't feel good about myself and I say, oh, I must go for a run, I don't feel good at all, like, you know. I'm seeking outside myself because I'm going out now into the world, into the body, and I'm going to basically go for a nice run to feel good about myself. I'm seeking outside myself. So I need to feel good about myself.
But on the other opposite side, okay, say you decide, oh, I'm not feeling good about myself, so I'm going to sit here and cry for, not decide for, you know, but, you know, it's the same
thing.
Oh, but you could correct it instead.
You see, it's all about the correction here at the end of the day. It's not about not going for the run or going for the run, or not about sitting
Right.
or not sitting in. It's about when that thought comes in. If I had the thought, I'm not feeling good about myself, then basically I have to correct that in my mind. And the way I would do that would, if I'm not feeling good about myself,
Yeah, I was like,
it's got nothing to do with what I have done or not done. It's got to do with the thought that I have become attached to.
and how do you find that thought? Say you're just like somebody who's depressed. Well, you know, how do you, well, let's say somebody who's depressed, they probably don't feel good about themselves, have never felt good about themselves their whole life, have a poor sense of self-worth or self-acceptance. How do you, I mean, you can be aware of that, but, and say, okay, this is where it comes from, but it's still not gonna, you know, help, you know, to
Yeah.
heal that, you know, how do you know what I'm saying? You
Right,
can have
okay.
all the
There's two ways you can work from this, right?
yeah.
When I'm not feeling good about myself, it's always because I have sought outside myself for something and I didn't get what I want. I know that. All right? So that's why I limit seeking outside myself for anything or becoming attached to anything. All right? But what I think what you're saying is if you're already outside and you're not feeling good about yourself, okay, what do I do about it?
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So the steps that I would say at that process is, first thing you have to realize is you are outside your center.
Right.
I am attached to something out here that's keeping me in the state of mind. My task now is to find out what it is. So therefore I get a piece of paper and I write down everything that's pissed me off for the last week or 2 weeks. Because I'm attached to every single one. And that's where I would start. I start using forgiveness with every one of those attachments. I would start making myself aware of everything I was attached to, even if I didn't do anything about it at that day. You know, oh, that pissed me off. What am I attached to there? Oh, I'm attached to that. Put it down and leave it there. Because then when I look at this piece of paper, I'm reminded of these attachments all the time. And if I'm reminded of all of these all the time, then I'm becoming aware of them, which means the more aware I become of them, the less damage and hurt they're going to do to me. You see, you'll always experience the greatest pain when you're at your most unconscious. And the ego's greatest strength is you not knowing all of this. That's how the ego has had all its power over us for so long. We didn't know any of this. We were unconscious to it. We were asleep. And we would still be if it wasn't for A Course in Miracles. Because no matter who you are in this world, the Course is given all spiritualities unbelievable, valuable knowledge in the structure of how the mind works, the right mind, the ego right mind, the wrong mind, the one mind, Christ mind, the mind of God. There is no other spirituality that has the structure that the Course has within it, to fill in all the missing pieces. And people look at the Course and they think, oh, that's just another Bible, it's about Holy Spirit, about Jesus. Unbelievable. It's got the most advanced psychotherapy section in it that I know personally that a lot of psychotherapists are basically enthralled with it. And they're using it. So there's so much to the Course that we're not even touching the tip of the iceberg with them yet. So does that answer it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So altruism is one. Restitution. We'll quickly run through these. Restitution. We've all done restitution. Yeah? That's where you try to make up, where you maybe miss somebody's birthday and, oh, Jesus, you know, maybe forget to send somebody a card and I'll make up to it, like, you know. So what we're doing is we forget to do something or whatever, we make a mistake or an error, and then we have this guilt, so we say we'll make up, we're actually buying our way out of the guilt. Okay? Projection, we all know how projection works. Projection basically is everything you deny within yourself, you will project it out, and then you react to it. So everything you react to, you have projected. So it's a coping mechanism. Okay? So we have all of this pain inside us. If we didn't have projection, that pain would build up and we would literally explode, like the atom bomb. So projection helps us to cope with the pain that's inside. False empathy, again, it's a coping mechanism where we feel sorry for people. And we get people to feel sorry for us. Okay? In a sad, sick way, we believe that other people's sympathy helps us. And we believe that we sympathize in other people is the right godly thing to do. So when you have sympathy for anybody, all you're doing is you're sticking the knife in deeper. When you're having sympathy for yourself, all you're doing is playing the victim. Because that's all the victim has, is sympathy. Prayer is another coping mechanism. Anybody elaborate? Why is prayer a coping mechanism?
Because you're asking for something, it means you're wanting something, which means you're saying you don't have it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
let's look at it from a coping mechanism. People who are in a lot of pain pray, and it helps them.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know, people who have a lot of guilt pray for forgiveness, and it helps them. You know, people who have a lot of lack pray for something, and it helps them. They mightn't get anything, but they pray, and it helps them mentally and psychologically. So prayer is a good coping mechanism. Another coping mechanism is suffering. Didn't get any sharp intakes of breath there. Why is suffering a coping mechanism?
You get sympathy from people.
Yeah.
So you feel better, you know, at least
What does suffering cope with?
guilt.
Suffering helps us to cope with the guilt in our mind, because if we suffer enough, it'll alleviate the guilt and it'll be a way of atoning for the guilt. And the last one then is time. How is time a coping mechanism?
Procrastination.
No.
Mm.
No?
Drags things out, so.
We avoid confronting ourselves and we just think that we'll do it. We'll look at it later.
We remain in the past or in the future so we don't have to deal with ourselves right now.
Time is a coping mechanism in it that it's going to take us time to change our minds. Okay, just imagine for a second now if someone came in here and they weren't ready to wake up. And they said, you're out of time, you have to do it now. How would that person feel? It would be
Terrified.
Sheer terror.
Yeah.
So they couldn't cope with it.
No.
So they need time to get their head around this, to deal with this. Yeah?
Yeah.
So time's a coping mechanism. Because I did the video Wake Up Now or Later, and in that I said it's not wrong if you're not using forgiveness. It's just you're not ready to wake up now. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of things that we're not doing now, and it's not that it's wrong. It's just that we're not ready to wake up now. So we'll wake up a little bit later. So time's valuable for people who are not ready to wake up now. Because if they had to be forced into that, not nice.
A friend of mine has been telling me for years how she really wants to wake up, and she has this strong connection with Jesus and blah, 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 and on and on and on. And last week I told her, I said, you know, you're running out of time. you maybe only have 20 years and that's it, if you're lucky. And so then she called me a couple of days later and she said, oh, I really heard you. You really affected me. She said, well, I made an appointment to go have Botox. I'm going to take yoga. I'm going to go on a diet. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
She heard you. She really heard you.
Who's your doctor? Just kidding.
Unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
I just couldn't do it. I was in.
Yeah. So let's keep moving. We've done 2 of the layers now, and we're on the last layer, which is the defensive. Okay. Okay? So what's one of the biggest defenses?
Denial.
Yeah. How can we use denial?
Easily.
But can we deny the truth even if we know it?
Of course we can.
How?
Well, if we're in the ego mind, we can.
Yeah, but how?
By intellectualizing, by rationalizing.
Yes,
by-
that's it. You see, denial is only a concept in itself. So rationalization is denial, but it's another version of the truth in denial. So I'm very angry, and I could rationalize that my anger is coming from what you said. A rationalization, right, is an external excuse for an internal problem. In other words, it's magic, as a course. So if I blame anything external, even my own body, myself, my separated self, I'm rationalizing. It's an external justification. That's the biggest form of our denials in our everyday life. Everything we rationalize is denial.
So if I said, I have stage 4 cancer and I'm scared, that would be a rationalization.
Are you scared because if you have stage 4 cancer? Yes, that's a rationalization. And you keep the fear. Everything you rationalize negative, you keep it. Everything you rationalize positive, you lose it.
But if I said, I have stage 4 cancer and I'm not scared, I wouldn't be telling the truth.
No. You're still rationalizing.
So what would be, how would you perceive it?
Okay? Right. You've got stage 4 cancer. So what is it you want to do with that concept? Do you want to bring it to the truth? Yeah?
Get rid of it.
I wouldn't get rid of it. It has to be reinterpreted.
Okay, then reinterpret it.
Yeah. So what is cancer?
Denial, guilt,
It's guilt.
guilt.
Yeah, that's what it is. Ultimately, it's guilt projected onto the body in the form of cancer. So what you want to do now, it's a thought, okay? And it's a thought that you're attached to. So,
How do you know what thoughts you're attached to?
because you react to them. Have you reacted to the thought of cancer?
No, not really.
Has your body?
Well, but if you're scared, if somebody, we're scared.
But you see, the point is, you know.
No, I'm talking about a friend of mine.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is here, like, for the ordinary average person getting this news, it would basically turn their whole world upside down, wouldn't it? You know, some other people doing the course or whatever, like, might go, I can use the tools for it. But generally, this would be devastating news for people in the world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to help her. What would I say?
Yeah.
You know, you're
But you can't, though.
because you're feeling guilt and you're attached to a thought.
Yeah, yeah. Is she spiritual?
No.
No, when you say...
But it doesn't matter because she passed away
Yeah.
a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
But before that, I was thinking, what could, there's nothing I could even say to her.
No. But there was something you could have done there. Joined with her.
Huh?
You could have joined with her.
Joined with her.
The cancer that was in her is in you.
You still can, can't
Yeah, of course you can. You see, the cancer's not in her, and it's not in her and not in you.
I must have a lot of cancer because I know a lot of people that have cancer.
So do I.
Jesus.
Well, what does that tell you? There's a lot of guilt. Forget about the cancer for a moment. Reinterpret the cancer itself.
If I didn't have any guilt, I wouldn't know anyone that had cancer. No one would ever
It's
get
like
cancer
it's
that I know.
it's like, when you buy a certain car. It's only when you buy that car that you start to see that car everywhere around you. It's come into your awareness. You become attached to it. It's an attachment to you. Ultimately, when you think cancer from now on, you think guilt. Simple as that. It's a thought. It's an attachment that we have to it. We're attached to the belief that we're separate, so therefore we're attached to the guilt. Okay, so this is all about reinterpreting. You don't get rid of anything. Even the ego has to be reinterpreted. Okay? So denial and rationalization. So everything we rationalize negative, we keep it. So if I keep saying that I'm afraid of flying, I'm always going to be afraid of flying. That's a rationalization. If I'm saying, I'm feeling so guilty, I forgot your birthday Sunday. That's a rationalization. Because my guilt has got nothing to do with your birthday. My fear has got nothing to do with the plane. My anger has got nothing to do with anything external. So why is rationalization so important to the ego? The ego is always trying to convince you that this world is real. And when you turn around and say, that's the reason why I'm afraid, that's the reason why I'm angry, what are you doing?
You're making it real.
Exactly. So every time we rationalize, we make the world very real. And if the world's real, then our pain and suffering is very real. Our guilt is real. Our fear is real. In fact, the whole separation is real because we got here because of the separation. So every time that you rationalize anything in this world, you make everything real that has ever, you make the whole story of the ego real. So that means every bit of pain and suffering that you have ever experienced, every time you rationalize, you make it real all over again and again and again and again. That's suffering. Okay? If you want to continue suffering, continue rationalizing everything in your life. Okay? But then, when we rationalize a positive, we also lose it. When we rationalize a negative, we keep it. When we rationalize a positive, we lose it. For example, let's say you meet someone, you fall in love. People look at you, look at you, you're great, wonderful. Why? I met this wonderful person and I've fallen in love, I'm deeply in love. And then you meet them a month later, and they're depressed, and they're on drinking, and they haven't showered in a week. What's wrong with you? Walked out on me. Where'd the love go? Gone. So how could we lose that feeling so quickly? Because we rationalized it. We projected it onto this person, and they're gone. So the person walked out the door, the love went with them, and the happiness went with them. Why? Because the ego is always trying to take every good feeling you have and get rid of it. It's trying to get every bad feeling you have and for you to keep it. Because everything good, everything pure, everything true, everything love is fearful for the ego. So if we can keep projecting it out into the world, then that means the ego has us under its control. Because the better that we feel about ourselves, the more free we become. The worse we feel about ourselves, the more disempowered we are. And the ego loves us to be completely disempowered. Because everything that we say or do is the ego. Okay? So when you're feeling really good about yourself and confident about yourself, and it's got nothing to do with anything external, then that pisses the ego off. So the ego's always trying to get rid of everything good about ourselves. Okay? And it's trying to we keep two things. The guilt and specialness. Because the guilt is specialness at the end of the day. You can't have guilt without specialness, you can't have specialness without guilt. So those two things we keep in abundance. The ego's happy with that. The truth, everything good, everything truly peaceful, everything truly joyful, everything true love. The ego's trying to get rid of. So that is the biggest tool of all for the ego. Okay? Judgment is a defense because as long as we keep judging, we keep our mind split. We're using this defense as a way of keeping the one mind split. Judgment splits your mind. It's neither right or wrong or good or bad, it's just a tool. The next one then, we have suppression. And everything we deny, we suppress. Everything we suppress, we project. And everything we project, we react. We did that last week. Another defense is busyness. Someone who will basically keep themselves so busy throughout their whole day as a distraction. And what I have to say here is everybody in the world is depressed. Okay, there's nobody in this world that's not depressed. What keeps people away from depression is their distractions. So the more things that I have in my life that distract me, okay, the less I'm going to be depressed. And the less things I have to distract me, the more depressed I'm going to have. Then we have intellectualization. Okay? And the intellect just loves A Course in Miracles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because the intellect will spend this lifetime and maybe many, many, many other lifetimes glorifying over it, arguing over the Course, the words in the Course, and everything to do with the Course. But they will flatly refuse to do the application. So,
Well, the amazing thing too is that they'll do all those lessons, and it'll still mean
because they're
again and again and again, like years after year after year, and it still means nothing.
because they're intellectualizing. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So basically, intellectualization is a defense against application. And I have a number of people, well, I have a few people in Ireland, and basically what they do is they'll love my teachings, but they won't do anything. They'll listen to them. They think they're great, but they won't apply them. You know?
I think that's part of the problem with our little group.
I think it's a big problem with everybody in the Course. Everybody, you know, from what I've seen, a lot of people in the Course are all intellectualizing this Course. Very few people are actually doing it. And then another defense is the ego right mind. Now, you could also say this is the persona, but I have the ego right mind in here because it's got to do with false forgiveness. Okay, it's a defense against true forgiveness. So when you read the Song of Prayer, you'll see the 4 variations of false forgiveness. So the ego right mind is a defense against the true right mind. We have resistance. We all know that. And we have the authority problem. And then we have the story.
How do you resolve the authority problem?
Who's the authority problem with?
Each other.
With who?
Each other.
So, answer that.
Well, by realizing I have an authority problem with you, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, but because you know, like when you describe how to do forgiveness, that's really helpful to me because that's a process. Because intellectually I can do that, but I've never been able, when I do recognize it, I've never been able to get myself to let go. What I feel is like some sort of resistance, anger, and like, who are you to tell me you're doing it too? You know, that kind of thinking. And so it really feels like anger, and I don't know how to, you know, like, why are you telling me? I don't know. And I've never, is there like a process, or is it just forgiveness? Or intellectually I know what it means, but I don't know how to
Self-empowerment.
get out of
But
it.
doesn't it go back to separating from God?
Self-empowerment.
Okay, the authority problem. Who is it that we really have a problem with?
Each other. You see, we're all one, and we're all one with God. So we're awakening up, all right? And we have to learn that we're all one. Okay? So in the Course, Jesus talks about the authority problem and the authority problem with God. That was our act, because that was created in the story to create a separation that we would believe was true to get us down to here. But ultimately, the authority problem is with each other. Okay? And not until we become one with each other first that we become one with God. You can't become one with God and not be one with each other. So our authority problem is, you see, the other thing is, because we were created in the likeness of God, everything inside of us is God. But we're not God. That's what we have to learn. And there's some people in this world who think they are God. Okay, so like the people in ISIS, they're acting God because they're saying this is basically, you know, the way the world should be. Other people are playing God all the time. So in every relationship that you have, someone will be playing God and someone will be playing the Son. Because that's the only relationships they are. So if you have two people playing God in a relationship, then you're going to have a relationship that's very conflict. The ideal relationship is someone between the Father and the Son, playing those two roles. Okay?
But if you have someone in your life playing ISIS, how do you deal with that problem?
It can't happen
It can't happen.
because ISIS is you.
But then there's no such thing then as an authority problem because it's all you.
Exactly. We have an authority problem with ourselves. But the way we sort that out first is, again, that authority inward picture, the authority problem has been projected out. Now I have a problem with Gloria. I don't like the way she says that. I don't like the way that person teaches this. I don't like the way that person does that. I don't like this. You know? So we have an authority problem with each other. I don't like the way she dresses. I don't like those shoes. You know?
Well, I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
So does that mean that I don't like...
So who's telling you what to do?
I don't know.
Who tells you what to do? And you have no problem doing it?
Well, if my higher self
No.
tells me what to do, I have
No.
problem
No.
doing it.
I yourself will never tell you what to do.
That's true, it never will.
No. So who tells you what to do?
Well, if someone says you should do this, my reaction is, fuck,
The ego.
screw
The
you, I'm
ego
not going to
is
do it.
shouting and commanding and directing you every second of
So
every
it's
minute.
the ego I have a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
No, the problem is with yourself. Okay, and what I mean here is you believe that you have abandoned your true self and you're committed to the separated self. That's the only problem that you have.
I still don't like being told what to do.
So, what are you going to do about it?
Nothing. I just won't do it.
Well, then you just hold on to that. You come back and you work it out the next time. Okay? How does that make you feel?
Not good.
Well then, you have a choice. Don't worry, darling. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll get to the bottom of that. So, right, there's your defenses. So we have our defenses, we have our coping mechanisms, and we have our attachments. This is literally unbelievable knowledge that has come from the Course. Because the concept of know thyself, has always kind of understood. People think that we're talking about their higher self. You don't have to know your higher self. You either know your higher self or you don't know. And that means the only way you can know your higher self is you have an experience of your higher self.
Right.
But you can know your separated self because it's here. Okay? And this is the unconscious that we have to make conscious. We've done that. Now it's up to you. What do you want to do about this? Okay? So we're coming now to the very last part of this. And this part is really just say, I am. So, okay? This is a big part that everybody has to really look within themselves and make a decision, make a choice. Do they want to keep attached to the self or not? So the first thing here, there's 4 components to this, and the first one is gender. Are you attached to your gender?
Yes.
Down.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a man.
Okay, Sandy?
I would say not so much.
Right. The problem is not your gender, the problem is that you defend your gender. Which means, and of course, all defenses are attacks. So if you're a woman and you're defending women, it means you're attacking men. Slashing, I'd say.
Don't say that you're reading, they're gonna know it rains in California.
It never rains in southern. Aye, it's written. So what I'm saying here is right. If you're a man and you defend men, or you're a woman and you defend women, it means you're attacking. Because all defenses mean attacks. Okay? So you could look at, say, something you might see in the Middle East about the way women are being treated. So you defend them women, which means you're attacking men. Okay? You might hear something how a woman was raped or beaten or bullied or whatever. Again, you step in, you'll defend women. You go, wow, fair play for her. Maybe she reported somebody or stood up for herself, whatever. We're defending all the time, which means we're attacking all the time. And we think it's right and noble to defend. It's the right thing to do. Okay? But we're not here to make the world a better place to live in. We're here to get out of the world. There are plenty of people here in the world, and they're actually on level 2, and what they're doing is they're making the world a better place. So they're taking up campaigns for equality, for this, for that. They're doing great work. But if you're here to wake up, really it's about moving up to that 3rd level. So gender is the first one. Okay? The next one then is family. Okay? Do you defend your family? Is there people in your family that you defend against other people in your family? You see, this is where the work comes in.
Maybe when my kids were little.
Yeah. So again, it's just put some thought into this. All right, because the ego only looks that it's you. Oh, I'm standing beside the victim. All of this, but you don't see the attack that you make on other people. What you're doing here is you have a good room and your bad room. You're splitting the two people. Every time you defend one, you attack the other. You're splitting your mind at that moment in time. And your mind split will always be in conflict. So again, it's about defenses here. If you defend your family and your family's name, okay, all you're doing is defending and saying that my family is special or better or worse than anybody else's. If you're defending people inside your family from other members in your family, you're just splitting again.
Well, what I do sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm defending and splitting, I'm not sure. But if my daughter has an issue with something my son is doing, I will just explain to her why he's doing what he's doing so she can understand. Is that defending?
Well, it's not helping the situation. Because she has to learn to do that for herself. He's giving her a lesson. She's giving him a lesson.
So I should just stay out of it altogether?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, again, it's like defending, you think you're being helpful. But you're really disempowering when you basically go in to sort things out for people, because that person is in the middle of a lesson. And you go in and sort it out for them, all right? What's that person going to have to do now? Back to the beginning and start off a whole new lesson all over again. And when they get back to spirit, they're going to turn around and say, oh, thanks very much for that. It's only the ego wants to go in and disrupt other people's learning. It gives you the feeling that you know more, gives you the feeling of being more godly, more special, more knowledgeable, all of this. So it gives us this enhanced ego that we can go in and fix things. So just be very, very careful with, Ken used to talk about good intentions. It says it was the royal road to hell.
So if we're walking down the street and we see a man beating up a dog or beating a kid or a woman beating a kid or whatever, we should just keep right on walking and not do anything or interfere.
No, no. Because you see, a part of that also is for you to look at that, because jail could be the best person for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, for that person. You would phone the police, you would intervene.
But wouldn't that be,
Wouldn't that be what?
what we were just talking about, defending?
Oh no, you see, you can see in this, right, you will have to use your good judgment when you go in and stand back and say, this person's in the middle of a lesson. But other times, maybe you might think, oh, this is getting a bit out of hand. So, you know, when your children are playing, you'll let them mess about for so long, you know, nobody's going to get hurt. But then once you can see someone's going to get hurt at this, you'll intervene. Why do you do that? Because you know your children are growing, they're learning, and they'll learn by mistakes. So you would apply the same thing, logic. That's what I would do in those situations, like, you know.
But when they're adults, then we don't.
Then basically, you know, they have to work, the more they can work things out for themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, so let's say that someone in your family, they're a little bit annoyed at someone else and they're staying in a bad mood. Well, that's good, because they have to learn that a bad mood is not a nice place to be, but it's their choice. But if somebody goes in and just sorts the whole thing out, what have they learned? Nothing. So they'll have to go through it all over again. You know, and it's in family that we're going to have our most lessons. You know. So again, it's just what this is really about. It's the I am, the attachment that we have to our identity. And the next one then we have is religion. Okay? And you'll know you have a problem. If you're doing a Course in Miracles and you think the Course is better than the Christian church, then basically all you've done is make the Course into another religion. If you see the Course any way different from anything else in this world, then you made it into religion, because that's the fundamental basis of all religions. This is the truth. That's not the truth. That's why the split happened over and over and over and over again.
But, yeah, but
There's only one religion, and it's love. That's it.
and all religions actually teach that. It's the interpretation of
Any-
that gets people into the problems.
Yeah, any religion that basically doesn't include everybody and everything,
Yeah.
then it's not love. Simple as that. So it's only the religion of love that's true. And that has to be total and complete for everybody and everything. So how many religions are there in the world?
Oh, right.
Do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I don't know.
So again, it's not about that, but it's about you joining with everybody no matter what religion they are. It's not about getting everybody in the Course to join with everybody in the Catholic Church or whatever. It's to see beyond religion. So when I go about my day, it doesn't matter whether people are Catholic, whether they're Protestant, whether they're Jews. I don't see that anymore. No difference to me. I'm not attached to the Course as a religion. If I was attached to the Course as a religion, or had been non-religious, or whatever attachment or label I want to put onto it, then I'm attacking now all other religions. Okay? So it's important here that you don't differentiate between the people no matter what their choice is. Okay? And then the last one, okay, is our nationality. Okay? Because there are people very attached to their nationalities. And you could be attached to it in a positive way or a negative way. Okay? And if you're attached to, say, I'm Irish, okay, my nationality would be Irish. So if I was heavily attached to my national identity, Irish, then I'm going to hate the British. That's the way it works. Because of the history we have had together. You know what I mean? Like, so it might be, I don't know what it's like over here. Certain states might not like other certain states or whatever. In England, they hate the French. The British hate the Germans. So every country has got a shadow. You know, Israel, Iran is Israel's. Palestine's is Israel's. You know, so you see them all out and, you know, with the flags and everything else, they're defending their nations, which means they attack other ones. So you can be, you know, the I am can be attached to any and all of these. If you are, then you're basically attached to the ego. So it's about becoming aware of what am I attached to. Okay, so to finish off, the I am starts at birth with our gender, our family, our religion, and our nationality. Okay? We have all our defenses, we have our coping mechanisms and our attachments. And all of this is inside the ego thought system. So we become aware of every one of these components. We have the persona, the shadow, the defenses, the coping mechanisms, and our attachments.
And so which one?
Yeah?
Is there an order to change these, transform them?
At the moment, I'm not going to go into that today
Okay.
because it's only, we're going to have classes where we're going to bring all of this together
Okay.
later.
Okay.
Alright, so it's only about awareness. But I would say to people, to answer your question, yes, I would start with the attachments.
Okay.
And what we do is we start putting a value on the attachments, what they're costing us, because of course they're keeping us from bliss. Coping mechanisms, we reinterpret them, we start becoming aware of them, and then using the other coping mechanisms that's in the course. And then our defenses, again, it's about awareness that will let those down. So the more awareness we have, it's kind of, if you're rationalizing, if you know you're rationalizing, it's very hard to rationalize. Okay? You'll rationalize all day if you don't know you're rationalizing. But once you know that you're rationalizing, it's the same with displacement. If you know you're displacing, passive aggressive, and you know that you're holding this inside, awareness is the key. So awareness is like waking up. So you need to be conscious of it first, which means I need all this information.
So you want us to write a book?
You know, there's nothing to stop us from writing a book. Because now, you know, you don't have to get published anymore, you publish yourself.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I meant on our attachment, all of everything you've presented today that you want us
To look at in
to
ours.
look at and write down.
yeah. So, that's our class for today. I think it was good timing too, because it's just coming to 4. And that's 2 down and 4 more to go.